he had a tremendous gift, but didn't imagine he would one day use it to become one of the 80s most charismatic and successful male recording artists. It wasn't easy dealing with everything that goes along with fame and fortune, though. And behind the music, he was struggling with a serious addiction that would continue to have a hold on him for decades to come, and threatened to ruin what he'd worked so hard to achieve. Alexander O'Neal was born November 15, 1953, in Natchez, Mississippi. He was raised solely by his mother in abject poverty, with 5 half-siblings. His father passed away in an accident just months before Alexander's birth. He would confess years later that even though he did have great male role models around him, it made him very angry to not have grown up with a father. Another issue that saddened him was colorism. As a child, he was forced to deal with ill treatment due to having a much darker complexion than his brothers and sisters. Being a big kid, it's no surprise that Alexander gravitated towards football. His talent for the sport would take him all the way to becoming an all-state linebacker. Long before that, though, it was obvious that he had another gift that little did he know would make him an international superstar. I had other interests, hanging out with my friends, playing football, but no matter what else I was doing, I was always singing too. Singing around the house, singing as I walked down the street. Subconsciously, there must have been something there trying to get out. When my friends told me I had a nice voice, I thought they were making fun of me. Then I heard them bragging to other people, telling the grown-ups, "You should listen to Alex, that cat can sing." His musical idols growing up included James Brown, Otis Redding, Marvin Gaye, and Donny Hathaway. When Alexander was 14, he began singing with a local band called the Soul Morticians. After high school graduation, he did go on to college, but only completed 1 year. At the age of 20, he decided to pick up and move to Chicago, and took a job at a factory. After some time, a cousin then invited him to come to Minneapolis. While there, Alexander made a promise to himself that he would pour everything he had into making it in the music industry. If things didn't pan out in 10 years, he'd become a truck driver. While performing around town with various bands, his talent caught the attention of up-and-coming musicians Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. They asked him to join their group, Flight Time, who would later be renamed simply The Time. Then one day, a call came in. It was Prince. He'd heard how great they were sounding and wanted them to become his permanent backing band. During a meeting to hash out all the details, though, things went all the way left. Apparently, Prince didn't like Alexander asking a lot of questions about the financial aspect of the deal. The next thing Alexander knew, he was out and Morris Day was in, becoming the band's new lead singer. In his unsung episode, Alexander claims another reason he was kicked to the curb was that apparently Prince also thought he didn't fit the group's aesthetic.
Some people even said that his reply that I was too black. But see, Prince is black when it's convenient for Prince to be black. Alexander O'Neal have to be black and love being black all the time. He just added fuel for the fire. So I said, now I'm really gonna make it. I'm really gonna do it.
When Prince also fired Jimmy and Terry a few years later, they were hired to produce a new singer for record label Taboo. The duo then reached out to Alexander and decided to bring him into the studio to cut the same songs. When the label's founder heard Alexander's version, he knew he'd found something special and wanted to meet him right away. We may never know who that other artist was, since Alexander O'Neal ended up taking their spot and signed his first deal with Taboo Records. In the spring of 1985, he released his self-titled debut album under the production of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. It included 3 singles that reached the top 20 of the R&B chart, the first of which was a track called Innocent. The follow-up, a melancholy ballad called If You Were Here Tonight, would give Alexander his first taste of international success when it peaked at number 13 on the UK singles chart. If you were here tonight. Then the Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis written and produced track Saturday Love with label mate Cherelle dropped that October and would take both artists' careers to new heights. It peaked at number 2 on the R&B chart. It also made it into the top 30 on the Hot 100. The song linked Alexander O'Neal and Cherelle together forever in the public mind, similar to previous hit duos that didn't start out that way, like Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell, and Peaches and Herb. Alexander's debonair style, complete with slick back hair and banker suits, were a calculated move to look the part of a romantic crooner. As the money started to roll in, the first thing he did was buy his mother a house. He also began living life in the fast lane, on all fronts. He fathered 2 children from his first marriage, and then went on to have 6 more with several other women. Drugs had also entered the picture. He didn't keep his addiction hidden, though. Jimmy and Terry were well aware of what was going on, and put their foot down with Alexander. They refused to do another album with him unless he changed his ways. The duo even paid for him to go to rehab. 2 years later, all 3 did come back together to put out Alexander's second album, titled Hearsay. It went gold and yielded the biggest US hit of his career, with the song Fake. It topped the R&B chart and reached number 25 on the pop chart. The follow-up single, Criticize, also became a top 5 R&B hit. Alexander collaborated with Cherrelle again for the 3rd single off the album, Never Knew Love Like This. It climbed all the way to number 2 on the R&B chart. His popularity across the pond was also white hot. He set a new precedent when he performed sold-out shows for 6 consecutive nights at famed Wembley Stadium. During the run, he made everyone's jaws drop when he decided to have a bed on stage and bring one lucky lady out of the audience to lay with him in it while he serenaded her. And if you're wondering, yes, he did it before Madonna. All the fame and fortune Alexander was experiencing, though, wasn't making him happy.
I was a recluse. I didn't have a social life. I didn't want one. I just want to stay by myself, go to work, make this money, and have people to stay out of my business.
His drug addiction had also ramped up again. Jimmy and Terry laid down the law again and said they wouldn't do another album with him unless he did another rehab stint. This time, he was less receptive to their demands, and even though he tried to clean himself up, when he did get back into the studio, things just weren't the same. After a 1988 Christmas album, Alexander dropped All True Man in 1991. The album went gold in the US and became his highest charting release in the UK, although it ultimately sold fewer copies than Hearsay. The title track also became a top 5 R&B hit. While the project did turn out to be a success, Jimmy and Terry didn't want to deal with Alexander's self-destructive behavior anymore, and walked away from him for good. In 1993, he released his 5th album, Love Makes No Sense. It would serve as his last project for Taboo Records. Although it reached the UK top 20, and 2 singles from the album reached the top 40 there, overall, sales were not as strong as his earlier releases. After leaving Taboo, Alexander signed with Motown, but never released any singles or albums with the label during his 3-year tenure there. The way he tells it, things played out that way because people used the fact that he decided to be open about his drug addiction against him. In 1996, his first album with label One World, titled Lovers Again, was released. It didn't chart in the UK, although the single, Let's Get Together, did reach their top 40. Over the years, as word circulated throughout the industry about his drug problem, as well as the belief that he was too old school for the times, Alexander would continue to have difficulties finding people willing to take a chance on him. Hence his move to London, where he would stay for the next 14 years. He figured instead of begging for a record deal in the US, he'd go where he was appreciated. In that time, he released 2 albums, 2002's Saga of a Married Man and 2008's Alex Loves. After returning to the US in 2010, Alexander released 5 Questions, The New Journey that same year. In 2015, following a brief appearance on reality TV show Celebrity Big Brother that ended with a major blow-up with blogger Perez Hilton, Alexander admitted that the stress of being on that show caused him to relapse on crack cocaine again. Immediately after getting off the show, he says he binged on the drug while staying in a London hotel. 2 years later, he released his autobiography titled after his 4th album, All True Man. The dynamic duo of Alexander O'Neal and Cherrelle came together for the first time in decades in 2019 at the Soul Train Awards to pay tribute to longtime collaborators Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. On March 21, 2023, Alexander posted a written announcement on his Facebook, as well as a short video clip on his Instagram stating his intention to end his touring days over the course of the next year. The fittingly titled Time to Say Goodbye tour will span the globe beginning in the UK this September.
Thank you guys so much for all the years for supporting me, buying my records, coming out to the shows, and don't forget, I love you guys, and this is my farewell tour because it's time to say goodbye.